So we're going to start with Dan. Dan, you've obviously been around the Glover U community for a bit now. I think the first time we met was on, well, not on the stage, but at this event, was it last year in Traverse City?
Yeah, my first event was Orlando last spring. The first.
Oh, it was Orlando, yes. And then you came, got it, because we golfed, I remember,
Yeah, we
so
golfed.
that was fun.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
all right, good. And so tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, time in the business, production, and so forth.
Sure. My name is Dan Hozhabri, and that's Persian for lion keeper, so please feel free.
All
Dan
right,
Lion
there we go.
I've been licensed for 18 years. I'm from Mount Airy, Maryland. I wore many hats in those 18 years. Was an assistant to an investor, solo agent, dual career agent, and then back to full-time. So I run a team back in Maryland, which is like the suburbs between Baltimore and DC.
Got it. And you also are in personal production, which is something we very much respect.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so you closed how many transactions last year personally?
So I serviced listings on the team,
Yep.
and I serviced 66 listings last year.
Got it. 66 last year. That's a good number. Yep. And as a group last year, you guys closed in total how many units in volume?
115 units for 48 million.
115 for 48. Great. And that's a small, I mean, that's just you and a couple people, right?
That was 3 agents.
Yep, 3 agents. You know, it's amazing. You see some teams with 10 agents sharing 100 transactions. I don't understand it. So talk to us a little bit about, I know that your focus is on sellers. Mostly your sellers come from your sphere of influence and your community stuff. One of the reasons why I wanted you to share some of what you do is because you do a lot. When we talk about building a database, right, the whole A, B, and C scenario, adding people to it, you do that like routinely. So can you talk to us about that part?
Sure, absolutely. So about 2016, I was some seminar I was at, and I heard someone say, "Your database is your business," and that's the first time I ever heard it. Actually, I've been licensed 18 years. And It took that long. And it stuck with me, and I looked at my database, which was an Excel spreadsheet, and there was about 300 names, I think, in there, phone numbers, email addresses, addresses.
Yep.
And I was determined to grow that. And, you know, my sphere is only so large. I mean, the law of 250, right?
Yep.
Like, we know 250 people, give or take.
Yep.
How do I get more people added in there? So I started to look at how can I meet more people, how can I get involved more in the community and grow it. So in the series from 2016 to, I guess, a couple of years ago, or even now, we're just shy of 9,000 in our database. And these are not buying lists. These are people who voluntarily give us name, phone number, email address, and a lot of times address.
Yes.
So
how do you add 9,000 people in that short of a time?
Yeah.
And people that want to be added.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you got to provide value. You got to show them, you know, give them a reason why they want to be with you. They want to be, you know, in your database.
Yep.
And we started doing that through community outreach. I decided that I wanted to be the unofficial mayor of my town.
Okay.
I don't want to be in politics, but how can I be where I'm like a household name? Everybody, when they see me, they recognize me. They say, "I think I know you from somewhere." So we started to do community events and get involved. We started with, you know, drives to give supplies to the schools, and then it kind of snowballed from there. You kind of build from there, and then I started looking at, okay, how can I be genuine and authentic?
Yep.
So I want to find people who do things like me, who live life like me. So I have 4 kids, and I enjoy giving them experiences, not things.
Yep.
So what can we experience together that I'm sure others in the community want to experience with us? Because we see these community Facebook groups all the time, and then people always complain, "I wish there was more of this in our town. I wish there was more opportunity for that."
Yep.
And instead of just being a part of the noise, we decided to create a solution.
You're going to be it.
Yeah. So we decided to put on an ice cream social, like, you know, first day of summer for 2 hours, because I like ice cream.
Yep.
And we had, I mean, the first year I did it, you invite the whole community, you're not sure what's going to happen.
Sure.
2 days later, we had 50 shares of our event, and I was freaking out because, like, the PTA mom group got it, and then this group got it, and they're sharing it, and I had 325 people show up the first year in 2 hours. That's like 4 to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And I spent $1,700 on ice cream, and I was not expecting that.
Sure. Yeah.
But the thing is, the fortune's in the follow-up, because at the event, you know, we had everybody. It's a system. They come in. They give us name, phone number, email address. They get a ticket for everybody in the group, and then they redeem at the counter for a free ice cream. And then our follow-up calls. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. As you know, we're a real estate group in the area. Who do you know is looking to buy or sell a home in the next 12 months? We should be talking to. And that was the script. So we came from thanks for coming. Gave them free ice cream. They're all happy, and they're like, oh my God, it was so great. We enjoyed it. My son had a double banana split, and I'm like, yeah, fantastic. I started growing, and then so that first event, I came across a gentleman that I had played in a softball league with, not on the same team, but in the league with. And he said, I've been meaning to connect with you again, and I'm glad I came here. Anyway, my daughter's looking to sell her home. Can you help? Sure. So I ended up selling her home, and they purchased. And then because we have a great follow-up system in our database of staying in touch, providing value past the transaction, she referred me to her sister. And then she also referred me to her sister-in-law. And then because we have a great orphan buyer program too. The house I sold originally, I ended up relisting it 4 years later from the buyer that bought that house.
It happens because half the agents are out of the business and the other half don't follow up.
So that $1,700 investment turned into like $42,000, over time. But it was consistent follow-up and providing value throughout that time.
Now, how do you, in an event that size, how do you make sure you get to touch everyone that's there? Because obviously you can't personally shake everyone's hands. How do you stay front and center, or at least around, so they are constantly, they're grateful that you did it, and they're reminded that you did it?
So, for me, I have a background in business administration and marketing, and perception's reality. So I have a big moving truck with my face on the side of it, and it's parked right out front there. And we're there, and I have a team that kind of helps out, and we ended up over time getting QR codes for people to fill out a form once they show they've done it. Then but while they're waiting in line, because the line starts forming. And we're doing our best to get them through there, but really it's at the mercy of the ice cream shop. But we're able to have contacts with them and conversations. Everybody's saying thank you, and then the follow-up of other events we do, they see us at, and they're saying, oh my God, thank you for ice cream, we had a great time, or thank you for this, thank you for that. So it's a matter of just, again, being the unofficial mayor. They recognize you for things you're doing.
So since then, have you lined up just a bunch of ice cream trucks to speed that process up?
Well, not necessarily. It's a brick and mortar, so we have to, But they double staff it. So.
Oh, good. That's good. So how do you determine what area to farm and what to send, and how do you know what zip code or neighborhood? How do you determine that?
So it's a lot of analysis. I'm an analyst back when I was in IT, and looking at an area to farm, geographically farm, it's got to have a few things. The turnover's got to be there. And it also has to match our demographic, who we work with.
Would you say that 5% is a good number?
That's a great number. Especially in our area, because my zip code, there's about 10,000 houses in that zip code, and we narrowed it down to the top 4 neighborhoods.
In terms of turnover.
And we are in there. They get a direct mail every month.
What do you notice about those neighborhoods? What do those 4 have in common?
Well, they have a great price point, one. But 2, it's their families a lot of times. Some are actually, it's a great turnover too, where they're about 20, some are 20 years old neighborhoods, some are 40 years, and you're watching that turnover of empty nesters. And they had the family home, and now they're starting to downsize, or right size, what you want to call it. And
so you're still doing big community events, but you're doing small events for your VIPs too, aren't you?
Absolutely, So we do 4 a year. We started with 1 a year, and then we started building. Again, we started one place.
One per quarter? Do you spread them out?
About 1 per quarter, we do, the summertime is a minor league ball team near us, so we provide tickets for that. And we tell people to invite your friends and family and neighbors and coworkers and everybody else, because I want them to experience what we do. And I can tell you, every time we do this, people come to our table out front to get their tickets. And they always say, oh my God, I haven't bought a house from Dan in 5 years, and I still get invited to this. And that's what they're telling their friends. And they're coming, they're experiencing. My agent never did that for me, So we get in front of them. So that's our summer one. Then we have, we do Pie Day around Thanksgiving. And then I rent out a movie theater in January. It's the week between playoff football, so that way I'm not interrupting anybody's schedule. And that's our thing. And then we do a welcome to the family kind of party, where we'll do either bowling or at a brewery. We'll rent something out, like a venue out for that.
So one of the things we talked about during our call, and it's something I would be wondering if I was in this room, How do you track your ROI and all that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, you have to, first when someone comes into our database and gets added, we tag them with how they got introduced to us, like what event it was.
Okay.
And then whenever they come to another event, they show up, because we repeat people that come back.
Of course.
We tag them every single time so that I know, how many events it takes for someone to interact with us.
Yep.
But also, it helps us determine, okay, when I look at that end of the year P&L, what did I spend on these different events? And then what business from our lead sources do we get from that?
Yeah.
It allows me to then reevaluate and say, okay, what can I axe? And what do I double down on?
Yep. Bingo. Which we talk about all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
One way to do that, which I'm sure this is part of your formula, and this is how we do it, is what did we spend in terms of time, money, resources? Of course, if it's an increase, did we have an increase in SOI, past client, current client referral business that year? And that's a good way to measure it. Now, naturally, you should have an increase if you're just giving good service because you're closing transactions and you're going to have more referrals. But does that percentage increase correlate with the increase of spend or resources that you do?
Yeah, it's a lot of analysis on that just to make sure that you're spending money in the right places. And, we got away from the sponsorships, where we get the call and say, we're having this race, we want to, sponsorship and be on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, no, that's, I can't track it.
Yeah.
Like, how do I know where they saw me and how they found me? And more importantly, that's not adding to my database.
Yep. So you would say in your business, say no to sponsorships and say yes to, and by the way, a lot of agents sponsor things every month, okay? Instead of sponsoring something every month, do 4 things every year of your own that you own and can control and, of course, add to the database.
Yeah, I don't say no to sponsorship totally. I say no to sponsorship if I can't add to my database.
Got it.
So I will negotiate with them and say, well, yes, I want to be a part of that. However, I want to be present with a table at the finish line or something, and I want to have a giveaway. So I need to be able to track it. If they're not allowing to do that, then I'm not the right person to
Are you
money.
afraid to ask for the list of attendees?
No. That's almost like one of my demands almost.
Yeah.
Is everybody, so I can add in my database and then we follow up with everybody.
Should be an expectation.
100%.
Yeah. Speaking of sponsoring, you started a nonprofit?
We did. We started a nonprofit. So we started doing some community door knocking for school supplies and food drive. And over time, it kind of morphed into, you look at who you are, like, as Brittany was saying, like, your origin story, where you come from, and people like you. And, I grew up and oldest of 3, had hand-me-down clothes, wearing it, and my parents provided. We didn't know without, with anything. But I had a lot of hand-me-downs. So there's people out there that were just like me, like right now. And how can we help those families in need? And there's people we found in the community that want to give and they want to help. They just don't know who to help or how they can help. Yeah. And there's people in the community that need the things that people want to help with. Yep. They just don't know where to go for it. So we kind of bridge that gap. So we did, in the wintertime, we call it Santa's secondhand shop, where we collected new, gently used toys, games, books, everything. Because again, having 4 kids, you're purging the playroom constantly to make room for new things and things they don't play with anymore. And I don't want to just throw it away. I'd rather give somebody who can use it. Yeah. And we started that drive, and within, 2.5 hours of doors being open, we were wiped clean. There's thousands of things in our office. Wow. We did the same thing in the spring for, we called it a spring closet clean out. Same idea, new gently used clothing items, and people came into the shop. And so our nonprofit's starting to take over those 3 events. So it's been really impactful. So what would you say to someone who wants to get started on adding value to their database, doing events for their database? How do you get the word out about some of this stuff? Well, the first thing is you need to have a following. You have to have a core group of past clients or people that sphere of influence like you. Yeah, I mean we started classifying it in those buckets, right? Like people who know us, like us, trust us, use us. Yep. And the difference between someone who knows us and likes us and people who actually trust and use us is relationship. So we have to create relationship with them. And we do that providing value, and not just, it's like you said, put the clocks back an hour. That's so impersonal. So we try to really, we send out VIP questionnaires. I want to know what the birthdays, their dog's names, the dog's birthday. I want to know the kids' birthdays. I want to send them, we follow up with things. So that's where we create that following. People, they almost anticipate it, they're waiting for it. And then we say, hey, we want to do this together because it's fun, because I'm going to be there, my family's going to be there, we're all going to be there together.
Sounds a lot like the Chewy experience that Brittany shared this morning.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, again, it's relationship, and that's where we are. Like, we're not transactional, we're relationship-based business, and that's we have to show up like that.
So question, you keep coming back, you've been through some programs. What is it that you've implemented from our system, or what do you get most out of
I
this?
don't know what I haven't implemented. I mean, it's just my 5th event, and you know, there's things that, because of how your organization and how you are, that you're teaching from the trenches. You know, this is not things that you did 5 years ago and it's working. It's relevant. And, you know, we started to really get really serious about our systems and surprise and delights. Those are big things for us. How can we, throughout through the process, create those opportunities to really impact our clients? You know, our social media campaigns. I mean, we were doing Facebook Live for a while until that changed. And, you know, there's things like that where if I just went to one event, I probably still be doing those old things. You know, without the updates.
So because things are constantly changing in our business, we get it out to you as fast as possible, and that's what makes sense.
Why, I mean, that's the value of staying in touch on your morning text message that I get every morning. And it's those things like that that's really, even my team, they're all in part of it as well.
Cool, awesome. Let's hear it for Dan. Thank you.